I went out of town, and literally the very next day, I look at my phone, news breaks, Jamal Adams got traded to the Seattle Seahawks. I went, bang, that's a big deal. Now, I've had quite a lot of time to stop and really think about what happened. And actually, I'll be honest, I feel exactly the same way now as I did when I had my initial reaction, which is that I really feel good about the trade. I think the Seattle Seahawks did the right thing trading for Jamal Adams. Let's break it down. So in the trade, the Seahawks got superstar safety Jamal Adams. Now, the Jets got 2 draft picks, 2 first-round draft picks, 2021 and 2022. They also got a 2021 third-round pick and a safety, Bradley McDougall. Now, I just read that and went, man, that's a good move. Great for Seattle. I've been saying for a long time. The Seahawks have this incredible quarterback, Russell Wilson. And this debate is not important to this topic, so please don't let it trip you up. But in my opinion, either Russell Wilson or Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. I don't really care who's 1 or 2, but they're the 2 best quarterbacks in the entire NFL, in my opinion. That's a debate for another day. I just don't care about that debate. But in my opinion, if you have one of the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL, like the Seahawks have Russell Wilson, get him help. Make a move, get him help. Do not waste the prime years of Russell Wilson's career. That's the biggest mistake you could make if you have a quarterback like Russell Wilson. And now, I'll be honest, I wish they'd made a move and gotten Russell Wilson an offensive lineman, but hey, they made a move. They got another star player that's going to help Russell Wilson win games. Right off the bat, I like that move. Now, I know it's controversial to say that the Seahawks did the right thing, giving up 2 first-round picks. Let me tell you, I've been on my phone for days. I've been at the lake. I've been camping. I keep seeing article after article, and people are sending me message after message. I've been getting messages for days about the Jamal Adams trade. And I know that it's controversial to say, hey, great job, good job, Seahawks. But I also know that my job is to say what I believe, and I really believe that that's the right move. I honestly believe that the Seahawks did the right thing by trading for Jamal Adams. Now, I live in the Northwest. I live in the Portland, Oregon area. And I see all the regional news here. It's really hard to avoid all the local regional news. It's on Facebook. It's on Instagram. It's everywhere. All my friends share it everywhere. And people in the Northwest that are Seahawks fans are angry about this move. Seattle sports writers, people I've met, say the Seahawks gave up too much. 2 first-round picks for a safety. Insanity. You could never make a move like that. I've been hearing that for a long time. And I really don't believe that people in Seattle, let alone Seattle sports writers, are watching very many New York Jets games. I just don't think it's possible. And I don't blame them. The Jets are bad, and you're in the Northwest. Why would you watch a team all the way in New York? It's literally across the country. It's not your market. It's probably, honestly, if you live in Seattle, it's probably hard to find a New York Jets game even on TV. And in reading articles, I've literally said, Seattle sports writers keep saying, we don't know how good Jamal Adams is. Well, come on. Let's correct that. You don't know how good Jamal Adams is. I do. You don't watch the New York Jets. I do. I watch the New York Jets. I watched a lot of New York Jets football. In fact, I did a Sam Darnold film analysis. I watched every single game the New York Jets played last year. And you know what name kept popping up? I was watching the offense mostly. I watched a little bit of defense. I'm not going to lie. Didn't watch every snap on defense. But the name that kept popping up, the name on defense that kept making an impact, making big plays, and getting Sam Darnold the ball, guess what name kept coming up? Jamal Adams. Because Jamal Adams is unbelievable. He's a star. In my opinion, I would even use the word superstar. And maybe you don't believe me telling you that Jamal Adams is an incredible safety. Okay, fair enough. You're like, hey, Zach, word of mouth is enough. I want to see it. Great. Brett Coleman is a friend of mine. He's a filmmaker. He's a football analyst. He's amazing. Brett Coleman made a video really detailing how Jamal Adams has an impact on the defense he's a part of. He had a huge impact on the Jets last year. He can cover. He can tackle. He can make plays behind the line of scrimmage. The 2 players who had the biggest impact on the Jets last year were Sam Darnold and Jamal Adams. Now, again, I go back to this. The Seahawks have this quarterback, Russell Wilson, in the prime of his career. They need to win now because they're also in the most competitive division in the NFL. Here's a question. What would help the Seattle Seahawks win this year right now? Would a 2021 draft pick, a draft pick in next year's NFL draft, would that help them win games this year? Oh, it would not. No, it would not. What about 2 years from now? A 2022 first-round draft pick. Does that help the Seattle Seahawks win right now? Oh, no, it does not. And I'm not trying to be snide, but the only way to use those picks you have to win right now was to trade them away. Jamal Adams helps the Seahawks win this year right now. And in my opinion, honestly, the Seattle Seahawks are going to win 5 more games this year. We'll say 3 because of Russell Wilson, 2 because of Jamal Adams. That's going to be a big impact on their season. Making the Jamal Adams trade is going to help the Seahawks win this year. And if you're in the NFC West, look ahead at the future of the teams in the NFC West. 2 years ago, the LA Rams were in the Super Bowl. They lost. There's a Super Bowl hangover. It's really hard when you lose the Super Bowl to come back. But eventually, the Rams are going to rebound. And last year, the San Francisco 49ers lost the Super Bowl. I'm going to give them, we'll say they're going to have one down year. Maybe they go 10-6 before the 49ers are going to hang around for a long time. They're going to recover. A Super Bowl hangover is real. It will impact the 49ers. I think they're not going to be a Super Bowl contender next year, in my opinion. They're still going to be very good. And then, by the way, Jimmy Garoppolo is getting better and better and better. He's a 49ers quarterback. My point is the 49ers are going to be back, probably not this year, probably 2 years from next year. And the Cardinals are rising. Oh, yeah, the Cardinals. They have Kyler Murray. In my opinion, he's my favorite to win MVP this year. He's a dark horse, but I think that makes him the favorite because people like a story they don't expect. Kyler Murray is going to break onto the scene. He's like the 21st rated quarterback in Madden. He's going to break onto the scene. No one's going to expect it. Kind of have a great year. Bam, Kyler Murray is going to win MVP. That's what I think is going to happen this year. Look at, they have incredible receivers. He's really talented. And my point is that very, very quickly, the Cardinals are also going to become Super Bowl contenders. So that's wow. In the future, the Rams, the 49ers, the Cardinals, the future of the NFC West is terrifying if you're the Seattle Seahawks. So this is the year that Seattle can take advantage of their situation and win the division. 49ers are on a Super Bowl hangover. The Rams are recovering. The Cardinals are about to pop, but maybe this year they're not quite as good as they will be 2 years from now. This is the year the Seattle Seahawks need to make their push. And Jamal Adams helps them do that. Jamal Adams will help the Seattle Seahawks win now this year. Now, in the wake of the trade, people have been saying, who cares if the Seahawks give up 2 first-round picks? I've heard that a lot because, and I'll be honest, it's funny. It's not entirely true, but it's kind of a memeable, funny thing where the Seahawks are terrible at drafting in the first round. Again, not entirely true. I want to break that down real quick. I want to add some clarity to the situation. There are 2 factions that have formed in the wake of the Jamal Adams trade. Neither side's really right, although I would say that maybe both sides are half right. One side says Seattle cannot draft in the first round anyway. They're really bad at it. They often draft busts. That's one side. The other side really disagrees and says that the Seattle Seahawks should have kept the picks because they're now not going to have as good of players in the future. People say, well, the Seahawks are actually more solid than you would think drafting in the first round. And again, I think they're both half right because with most things in life, the honest answer is somewhere in the middle. There's 2 extremes and they're both kind of right, but the truth is somewhere in the middle. So since 2010, these are the Seattle Seahawks first-round picks. They had an offensive tackle, Russell Okung. They had safety, Earl Thomas. Guard, James Carpenter. Defensive end, Bruce Irvin. O-lineman, Jermaine Ifedi. Running back, Rashad Penny. Defensive end, L.J. Collier. And linebacker, Jordan Brooks, will be a rookie this year. He was drafted 27th overall in the first round in 2020. Now, 2 of the, really I would say the 2 best players I just listed were drafted 10 years ago in 2010, Russell Okung and Earl Thomas. Again, 10 years ago in 2010, they were drafted. That's the last time the Seattle Seahawks have drafted a real, true star player in the first round of the NFL draft. Now, since then, the rest of the first round picks are just kind of middle of the road starters at best. Now, as a rookie last year, LJ Collier had 3 tackles in 3 games. It's not that great, but hey, maybe he'll break out this year in his second year. Rashad Penny's a solid running back. Jermaine Ifedi's a consistent starting offensive lineman. Now, Bruce Irvin left the Seattle Seahawks after 4 years, was okay. It's the same thing with lineman James Carpenter. He was okay, and then after 4 years, he took off. And here's my point. The last time the Seattle Seahawks drafted a truly amazing player in the first round was 2010. And it's very unlikely that anybody the Seahawks were going to draft with the picks they traded away, whether it's a 2021 first-round pick or the 2022 first-round pick, it's very, 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 very unlikely they were going to draft anybody of a caliber similar to Jamal Adams, because Jamal Adams is unbelievable. Now, another thing I want to mention, I do think it's, in fairness, part of why the Seahawks are impacted with their drafting in the first round is because they're good. When you're really good, it means you're picking at the end of the first round. So if you have a bunch of late first round picks, you're not going to get the cream of the crop, the best players in the draft every year. And to be clear, Jamal Adams is better than anybody they were going to draft. But here's an accurate statement about Seattle's ability to draft in the first round. I want to be clear because there's a lot of narratives all over the place. This is an accurate statement. Again, the Seahawks have not drafted a star player in the first round in 10 years, since 2010. And usually the Seahawks draft average, solid starters in the first round, but not star players. And the recent Seattle Seahawks draft picks who became stars were players drafted after the first round. Think about this. Listen to this list. It's crazy. It's actually very bizarre how good the Seattle Seahawks are at drafting after the first round. Bobby Wagner was a second-round pick. Richard Sherman, everybody knows Richard Sherman, a 5th-round pick out of Stanford. Michael Bennett, Doug Baldwin, undrafted free agents. DK Metcalf, a 2nd-round pick. Russell Wilson, he's arguably the best quarterback in the entire NFL, was a 3rd-round pick, Russell Wilson. Linebacker KJ Wright, a 4th-round pick. Tyler Lockett was drafted in the 3rd round. The Seahawks, in my opinion, did not give up too much for Jamal Adams. They traded away 2 future first-round picks, sure, but they're an unknown quantity. You have no idea how good they would be. Maybe they're a bunch of James Carpenters and Bruce Irvins. Is that really better than Jamal Adams? Not at all, in my opinion. They traded away an unknown quantity to get a superstar safety, Jamal Adams, who will immediately have a massive, massive impact on the Seattle Seahawks. In my opinion, that's a great move. I honestly don't know how much. Look at what are the Jets going to do with those first-round picks? They're going to get rid of Adam Gase next year, have a whole new coach, maybe a whole new general manager. Who do you feel better? I just don't know. I don't think the Jets are going to do any better with those draft picks than they would have done with Jamal Adams. In my opinion, the Jets really screwed up letting Jamal Adams leave and honestly not listening to Jamal Adams. If you pay attention to what the Jets have said and the narrative that's been spun about him recently, the Jets kind of make Jamal Adams out to be a bad guy. And I just don't think it's true. I watch him play on the field, his passion, his attention to detail. He's clearly, I don't think, a troublemaker. I think he's a really good football player who also wants to win. And unfortunately, Jamal Adams came to realize, oh, crap, I'm not going to win in New York. The people around me, my coach, the people here aren't capable of winning football games. And that is why Jamal Adams started speaking up. He wanted out. He wanted to get away. I don't think Jamal Adams is a troublemaker. I think he's a great football player. And I think the Seattle Seahawks overwhelmingly made a great move by trading for him. They didn't give up too much. They made a great move, in my opinion.